We've talked in this segment and in previous segments about the importance of connecting children's experiences outside the service, that is their experiences out in the community and with their families, with their experiences within the service. And that's a concept that's highlighted a lot in the EYLF. We're going to see a vignette now of Tom and Lucas arriving at Janani's house. And there are lots of things in that, but there's a really good example of Janani learning something from a conversation with Tom and using what she's learned in a conversation with Lucas while Lucas's dad is still present. It's a great example of connecting experiences outside with experiences and conversations and interactions within the early childhood environment.
How are you? How was the weekend?
Good.
So what did Lucas do? The weather was so
Lucas was with the grandparents.
Oh, okay. And Jody too?
Yeah, both of them.
Okay.
For the day, and then the second day, it was with Angie's family on Saturday, and my family on Sunday.
Okay.
So it was like three parents weekend.
Did they cut his hair this time when he was there?
We're having all haircuts tomorrow.
That's good. That's good.
He wanted strawberries.
Oh, fantastic.
So you can share with other kids.
Yeah.
Some food.
Yeah. That can go in the fridge.
Okay,
Yeah.
and then
The mandarin and the cake.
they made muffin yesterday at Kinder. So if you want a piece muffin.
Fantastic.
So there you go.
That's really great. So I'll put this in the...
And I brought the jacket in there, but he won't need it.
Is he going to have yogurt today or no? No yogurt today?
No yogurt today.
Yeah, you got plenty of fruits.
Yep.
You go to Jardek's house too? Yeah, what did you do in Jardek's house? What did you eat, Lucas? Huh?
He ate piernik. It's a little chocolate cake.
Is it a polished?
Polished thing. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Did you eat a polished sweet? And what else did you do with Jardek? Lucas? And what did you do at Papa Nona's house?
I eat lunch.
Or did you have your lunch? And did you play outside?
Yes.
It was
With
really...
my menu.
No, they got the windmills.
Oh, you got
My dad brought them
windmills.
windmills from overseas.
Oh, did he? Is it a toy one? For
Yeah,
the
it's a
children
toy
to
one.
play?
They've got one each, and they had them
Okay.
outside, and they were
Oh, fantastic.
doing all sorts of.
That was great. You know what? Maybe we could make some windmills today in the afternoon
Yeah.
to play in our backyard. Yes, Isabel can too, and Harry can too. We'll make some windmills today. If Peppa comes, Peppa can make it too. Yeah? Yeah. So we are going to make some windmills.
Yay.
Yeah.
I'll make cupcakes with my mommy last time.
Did you? And you know, Isabel, yesterday Lucas made cupcakes in Kinder. So we should think of making some too. Yes? And
That
Daddy's...
would be awesome.
That would be awesome. I know, that would be awesome. You love
Be
cupcakes.
awesome, Nanny.
Yes, Isabel. Okay, Daddy's going home. Can you say to Daddy, have a great day, Daddy?
Have a great day.
No, thanks.
See you, Tom. See you.
Bye, Tom.
Bye.
Bye.
See you in the
Bye.
evening.
Bye.
Nice to meet
Nice to see.
We'll conclude with some general questions about partnerships. What do you two think are the essential skills and qualities that educators need to work in partnerships with families? And additionally, what supports are important to help you to do this?
For family daycare educators, it's very important to have the coordination support. They help us by providing clear policies and procedures and organizing professional development trainings and workshops such as effective communication, cultural diversity or family lifestyle, as well as when there is a conflict situation arises, they act as mentors between the educators and the families. I believe some of the skills we need to have a great partnership, such as open and honest communication, shows empathy and being flexible, managing feeling when there's a situation comes or when a parent arises an issue. We have to manage our own feeling and hear what the parent is trying to say, and active listening.
A lot of professional skills, a lot of professionalism is required
Yes.
to work effectively with partnerships. Rukmini, what about you? What are the skills, qualities and supports that are needed?
As Janani mentioned, I think empathy is a big one. Being empathetic, respectful and open-minded is really, a starting point. However, this doesn't always come naturally to everybody, and we come with our own values and beliefs. So we need to open our minds and try and develop those skills, and we can do that with the support of maybe a management team as well as a parent committee who can support us in those areas and provide us with lots of training. The other thing that we can do to actually build strong partnerships as well, even though there's no quick, easy tools, is actually have a shared philosophy. If we can come together as a group, families, children, as well as educators, and we can come up with a shared philosophy, we can work towards a common goal, and that always helps to really strengthen partnerships.
What you're saying reminds me of that emphasis in the EYLF on reflective practice, critical reflection, bringing to bear multiple perspectives, that if a service, if a family daycare scheme or childcare centre or any type of early childhood service has that kind of culture of we can be open and honest with each other about what we think, about our differences, and we have a commitment to work them through, that's really needed in partnerships with families, isn't it? It's one of the most complex areas of practice. So just to finish off, I'd be really interested in hearing from each of you about if you were in a position to give advice to other educators about what are the most important considerations if they want to strengthen partnerships in their service, what really matters. What are some of the things that you would say? Rukmini, let's start with you.
I think one of the main things is obviously professional development and training. Try and stay abreast of what is quality practice and what is current. Make sure you stay connected with families in many ways. Through emails, any opportunity you have, you must connect with the family. Respect the families that come to your service and have an open mind when you welcome them. Provide a welcoming atmosphere as well, and have a representative of, a cultural representation of the people that are at your centre as well. One of the things you mentioned is about reflection, and I think a reflective journal that everybody contributes to is a very, very good way of actually growing your service. I think reviewing orientation processes is also really very important. And also, I mentioned before about having a shared philosophy. There are many ways of doing this, and one of the things we did at our service is create a visual mandala which everybody was represented on, and I think something like that can be quite beneficial and really strengthens partnerships.
Can you say a little bit, I'm not sure I know what a visual mandala means. It sounds really interesting.
Sure.
Can you say a little bit more about that?
It's a visual representation of some of our goals and outcomes that we wish to achieve during our time as we share these partnerships with families. So we involve children in actually contributing to that with their ideas. What are your dreams and aspirations? Similarly, we have this conversation with families, and we do it as a team of educators as well. And we actually created something which was visual on fabric, which we can hang up and is a visual representation of everybody who's actually a part of that centre.
Right. So it's a very powerful, tangible symbol of partnerships.
That's correct, based on our philosophy.
And the philosophy, the process that you used to create it was a process that sounds like partnership, but embodied partnerships.
That's correct.
Janani, what advice would you give to others about how to build and to strengthen partnerships with families?
Establishing a great partnership with parents creates a great atmosphere when parents arrive early in the morning. If you have that partnership with parents, you look forward them to arrive in the morning. You feel energetic and feel welcoming to make them to come into your environment. Partnership with parents is not always easy, but having a great partnership creates a harmony in the service, and it helps us to grow as professionals as well. We learn from each other and we create quality service to the wider community.
That's a great advertisement for partnerships with families. I was thinking before that for many educators, especially those who might have done their professional qualifications some years ago, that being an early childhood professional was really about working with children, and you mentioned that in your first comments. And I think what both of you have been saying all throughout all of the segments is that there's a redefinition in a way of what it means to be an early childhood educator now, and that redefinition means that sure, our focus ultimately is on children, but what the EYLF is telling us is that we can't work effectively to support children's learning unless we have a partnership, and that requires a lot of new skills. It requires some attitudinal shifts. It requires people to sometimes to think differently about what their role is and to embrace a lot of new challenges. I remember an educator, I think it was a childcare centre director many years ago, saying quite simply, but I thought quite profoundly, that what she tries to do in her service is to support educators to develop attachment relationships, strong, secure attachment relationships, not with children, but with families and children. And I think that's what you've been really talking about. So it's a big challenge, but it's a challenge that the EYLF can help us to meet. And it's well worth the effort if we want to support children's learning. Thank you both for sharing your thoughts and your practices and ideas with us today. I think it's been a wonderful exploration of a complex topic, and a wonderful exploration of how the EYLF can help us to look at principles and issues that apply across all types of services. Thank you very much.
Thank you.